You did everything right. You were consistent. You were faithful. You showed up every single day for a relationship you genuinely believed in. And then the floor disappeared beneath you, a text that wasn't meant for your eyes, a story that didn't add up, a gut feeling that turned out to be devastatingly accurate. Now you're asking the question every betrayed man asks: was there something I could have seen? The answer is yes. Not in hindsight, not after the damage. There were specific psychological patterns present from the very beginning. Patterns most men are never taught to recognize because nobody ever sat them down and explained how this actually works. This is not about blaming women. This is about pattern recognition. Because the man who understands these patterns stops getting blindsided and starts building relationships on a foundation that can actually hold weight. Let's break it down. Number 1, the woman who confuses chaos for passion. There is a type of woman who has been conditioned, usually by past relationships, sometimes by what she watched growing up, to associate intensity with love. Drama feels like depth to her. Calm feels like boredom. This is a real psychological pattern called misattributed arousal. The nervous system doesn't always distinguish between the racing heart of anxiety and the racing heart of attraction. So a woman wired this way will unconsciously create or seek instability because peace doesn't register to her as love. It registers as nothing happening. In a stable relationship, this woman gets restless. Not because anything is wrong, but because nothing is wrong enough. And restlessness, left unaddressed, goes looking for stimulation. Often that stimulation comes in the form of a man who creates exactly the chaos she's chasing. The takeaway: peace is not the absence of love. Confusing one for the other is what puts a relationship at risk, on both sides. Number 2, the woman who was never taught to sit with discomfort. Some women grew up in households or relationships where the moment something felt difficult, it was abandoned, avoided, or numbed. Nobody modeled how to push through a hard conversation, repair a conflict, or stay present during discomfort. As adults, these women carry what therapists call low frustration tolerance into their relationships. The second things get genuinely difficult: emotional distance, a rough patch, a stretch where the relationship requires real work. The instinct isn't to lean in, it's to escape. And escape doesn't always look like packing a bag. Sometimes it looks like a harmless friendship with a coworker that slowly becomes an emotional refuge, somewhere that feels easier than the hard work sitting at home. This isn't about her being a bad person. It's about a skill she was never given the chance to build, the ability to stay during discomfort instead of fleeing toward something easier. The takeaway: watch how she handles difficulty early. How she manages discomfort in small moments predicts how she'll manage it in big ones. Number 3, the woman performing a relationship for an audience. This type is increasingly common, and it's almost entirely a modern phenomenon. She is deeply invested in how the relationship looks, the photos, the captions, the curated version of the two of you, but far less invested in how it actually feels behind closed doors. Psychologists call this an external locus of self-worth. Her sense of value comes from how she's perceived, not from internal stability. The relationship becomes a prop in a larger performance of her life, rather than a genuine partnership. The danger here is subtle. A woman optimizing for image will always be vulnerable to whoever offers the next upgrade to that image. More status, more excitement, more attention from outside the relationship that feeds the performance better than you currently do. You'll notice this pattern in how she talks about the relationship to others versus how she treats you in private. The gap between the public version and the private reality is the warning sign. The takeaway: a relationship built for an audience has no real audience of two. Watch for the gap between performance and reality. Number 4. The woman who has never resolved her last relationship. This pattern hides in plain sight because it looks like history, not warning. She talks about her ex constantly, sometimes with anger, sometimes with longing, often both. She hasn't fully closed that chapter. She's just opened a new book on top of it. Unresolved attachment doesn't disappear because a new relationship started. It sits there, unprocessed, waiting for a trigger. And new relationships are full of triggers, moments that echo the old one, insecurities that resurface, comparisons she doesn't even realize she's making. A woman still emotionally entangled with her past is often unconsciously testing whether this new relationship can fill a hole the last one left empty, when it can't, and no relationship fully can, because that healing has to happen internally. She becomes susceptible to seeking it elsewhere, sometimes even circling back to the very person who hurt her before. The takeaway: a woman who hasn't closed her last chapter will keep writing it inside your relationship, whether she means to or not. 4 patterns, 1 mantra. Women are not the enemy. Confusion is. Clarity is the solution. The chaos seeker. The one who's never learned to sit with discomfort. The performer building for an audience. And the one still tethered to unfinished history. None of these patterns guarantee betrayal, but all of them increase the risk. And now you know what to watch for before you hand over your loyalty completely. If this gave you real clarity, like the video and subscribe. We're building a brotherhood of men who choose awareness over assumption. Comment below. Which pattern have you seen play out in your own life? Let's talk about it. Watch the next video on screen. Keep sharpening. Stay clear, stay grounded. See you next time.